Like to call this meeting to order 7:19 p.m. after a crash. Chris, could you care to call the roll?
All right, we're going to start with roll call. Bob Clausa,
Present.
Roy Edmonds,
Present.
Larry Haggart,
Present.
Stacy Jarvis, Marty McMillan, Michael Hindelang,
Here.
Michael Bannon,
Here.
James Kunick,
Here.
Sarah Coates,
Here.
Lori Reed.
Here.
We'll now look to do an approval of the March 25th, 2021 minutes.
All right, roll call for the approval of the last meeting for the minutes. Bob Clausa,
We need a motion.
Yeah, we need a motion in a second.
So moved.
I would second.
Second.
all right, I apologize. Now the roll call for the
Call the roll,
approval of
please.
the minutes from the last meeting. Bob Clausa,
Yes.
Roy Edmonds,
Approved.
Larry Haggart,
Aye.
Michael Hindelang,
Yes.
Michael Bannon,
Yes.
James Kunick,
Yes.
Sarah Coates,
Yes.
Lori Reed.
Yes.
The minutes pass for the last meeting for the minutes.
We'll now move on to number 3,
Oh,
the
minutes,
public.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and call.
Yes, as I
Anna,
mentioned
I'm
before,
gonna
the
go ahead and
clock is not
unmute you.
synchronized with Zoom.
Hello again, Anna Signorino, Grosse Pointe Park, Whittier. Am I on?
Yep, you're on. Go ahead.
Okay, so we were talking about disc golf that's on the agenda for tonight. And folks are saying that it's a passive activity, but it's really not. And I want you folks to understand what disc golf really is. It's folks at any age throwing a hard plastic disc just under a half a pound at more than 70 miles per hour in hundreds of feet into a metal bin that looks like a metal trash bin. And sometimes that metal disc can be thrown, or the plastic disc can be thrown hundreds of feet in the wrong direction. And for a multi-use park, which is what Patterson Park is, it doesn't belong in Patterson. There was one disc golf course in California where a woman was awarded $3 million because as she was watching her daughter run cross country at the park, she was hit in the face and she became blind. A year later at that same park, a 6-year-old boy had a near fatal brain injury while he was playing at the park. So some folks say it's a passive activity. It's not. It's actually an active activity. And just like we can't walk around a golf course in the middle of the day with the families and children, we cannot walk around a disc golf course, which is what we do at Patterson Park. So just so that you understand really what disc golf is, there is a disc golf course at Spindler Park in East Point. So any folks who want to use a disc golf can go to that park and use it. And for the safety and well-being of the park users and our children, the disc golf course shouldn't even be considered. And you should really, make it so that it will never be considered in the future. Just like a dog park inside Patterson Park is not appropriate because of the risks of harm that it causes the children and the park users, so will disc golf. In case any of you missed it, a 4-year-old girl was mauled to death by their family dog inside of her home just this week. Dogs are dangerous. Dogs should not be in the park. The dog park should be relocated, and we should not ever have disc golf, because who wants to have me and my husband and my 5 kids throwing a disc? And the neighbors don't want it on Grand Marais. We throw the disc over in their yard. The folks on Bedford, we throw the discs into their yard, or we just happen to hit a child who's rolling down the hill or blowing bubbles or playing Frisbee. So let's not ever consider disc golf, and I don't even know why it's on the agenda, just like dog park shouldn't be on the agenda for Patterson Park. So thank you for taking that into consideration. I hope you learned a little bit more about the dangers of disc golf. Thanks.
Thank you for
Okay,
your
that
comment.
concludes all public comments.
Moving on to the next item, approval of the dog park application park rules and incident bite report. Chris, please, do I hear a motion first? Do I hear support for this?
Support.
Chris, please call the roll.
Bob, do we have discussion before we vote?
We should.
There were a number of issues that I know were raised at the last meeting that some changes were going to be made. Chad was going to follow up on some. There were a few things where the city attorney was going to be consulted. Perhaps we can get an update from Chad on how all of that shook out before we vote on this.
Yeah, the only thing that needs to be, I believe, discussed with the city attorney is the tail wagging tips. I didn't include that in tonight as I don't have an answer on that yet. So one way or another, if that gets approved, we'll go ahead with giving that information out. If the city attorney thinks that's not in our best interest, we won't even consider the tail wagging tips as part of the dog park application or rule process.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to do a roll call for the approval of the dog park application, dog park rules, and incident bite report. Bob Plaza, how do you vote?
Yes.
Roy Edmonds,
No.
Larry Haggart,
Yes.
Michael Hindelang,
Yes.
Michael Bannon, James Kunick,
Yes.
Sarah Coates,
I think you're muted, Sarah.
Yes.
and Lori Reed.
Yes.
The approval of the dog park application, dog park rules, and incident bite report has passed.
All right, we'll move on to section 5, Windmill Point Park. We'll start off with the pool opening. The opening process started for the Olympic pool and the children's pool this past Saturday. The only major issue we've run into so far is we have some cement and marsite issues on the fountain part of the children's pool. So I'm kind of going back and forth with some cement contractors and our contractor that opens the pool up, trying to figure out who can do the work. One of them thinks that it was just concrete and it's not something they need to do. And then some of the concrete or cement contractors have come out and it appears to be more of a marsite type material that they don't handle. So I'm going back and forth with Aquatic Source who handles the pool to see if that's something that they can take care of. I believe it's some stuff they've worked on in the past for us. So I'm hoping to get an answer on that soon, as that won't take too much time to open, but I do want to have enough time to make sure that's open for our normal weekend, which is Memorial Weekend. We're looking good to have the Olympic pool open on that day. We've already got the boilers activated, so the pool is heating up as we speak. We'll just start getting some guards in to clean along with the maintenance department. So I feel like everything for the most part is on track and scheduled to open like we wanted to. We spent about 3 hours today trying to work on the pool schedule and operations for the summer. It will probably be minimal hours to start out with. The weekend will go as normal. And then from the Tuesday after Memorial Day through about June 18th. It's more than likely probably going to be evenings only, and it may not be every evening during the week. The weekends will be as normal, but we've got some issue with less amount of guards this year. We have a lot of high school guards, and while they're in school, they're only allowed to work 3 hours at a time. So we have to get somewhat creative with how we'll make that work with our work permits. So there may not be morning lap swim, and we may not start until about 4:30 on weeknights. But we will be regular on the weekend, starting up most likely at 7 a.m. And going till about 8 p.m. on the weekends. I know there's going to be some not happy swimmers that we won't have the morning swim, when we first start out, but with the way our staffing is and everything that we have go on, especially we're planning on having the swim team and swim lessons. So factoring those in with our already kind of restructured pool hours is going to be quite challenging to juggle. But we will be able to offer everything. It just may be limited. Morning lap swim used to be from about 5:30 a.m. till about 9. It's just not going to be able to happen this year with swim team and swim lessons. So it'll be closer to probably about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of a morning swim time, which is pretty close to all the other points morning swim. They're either an hour and a half or 2 hours as well. So I think we'll be okay. Again, it's just the challenge of having this swim team. That's going to be quite different than in the past, but it's a step in the right direction as we didn't have any kind of swim team last year. So it will be no officials, no face-to-face meets. All times will be submitted. That's some of the things that we're exploring. Probably not a swim finals or prelims or anything like that. It just doesn't make any sense right now with everything that's going on. We just don't think that, but we will have some type of a season. I think with the usual number of swimmers that we have, we'll be just fine with the teams that we have. So I feel good about that. And the same with swim lessons. We're going to scale some of that back, probably only offering levels 1, 2, and 3, but keeping that right around the same 10 to noon time slots. So that's the thing we run into from about, 7 to noon, 7 a.m. to about noon is going to be mostly just swim team practices and swim lessons for a good majority of July. So that's what it kind of presents the challenge for the morning lap swim, but then we're able to open up after that and have our normal swim blocks the rest of the day that you'll have to sign up for, but went really well for us last year and allowed for more time to keep the facility clean. So I feel confident with that. Do we have any questions or anything regarding the pools?
So you're going to have the same kind of COVID protocols as last year with the swim block times, be the same number of people and same capacity? Okay.
I think we'll be pretty close. I'm not official on the capacity yet. We were, I believe, able to do 50%. We went a little bit lower than that. We didn't feel that we quite wanted, I think, 250 people in there at a time. So we downed it to 175. We felt better with that number. Most of the times we had that many sign up, but very rarely did 175 people even show up to their time slots. So we did take walk-ins to help with that.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, and then we're also limiting the number of swimmers per lane for practices and things like that, so we can keep them socially distanced. And really the amount that we can have per our lanes is fairly close to what we had for most of those levels of the team. So again, I feel really strongly that we'll be okay with that as well.
Chad and Bob, I just heard from Marty McMillan. He was having trouble signing in and he's trying again. So just want to let you know that he's attempting to do so.
We'll see if Chris can get him in. We've also got summer programs. It's not official yet, but I don't think it's likely that we're going to have our Knapsackers day camp program this summer. Just with that age range of kids and trying to find enough counselors to work that program, I don't feel as confident with it as I would like to. I know a lot of people enjoy that program, but I'm just not sure where we're at right now. And with the trouble we've had with getting staff for enough departments already, that's something that would work out well for us. One partnership we are looking to start though is with the Grosse Pointe Theater. And they're going to do some summer classes at the park. And we're going to partner up on that one. So it's kind of a nice alternative to have another type of camp / class session that could kind of replace that. Not totally probably the same age range, but at least we're offering something to help make up for that. I am trying to explore a couple of other options. If I have some subcontractor type day camps that would look to do something with me, I have a couple of calls out and a couple of calls that came in that I'm trying to coordinate that with. That might be the easiest thing. We would still take a percentage of those fees and they would handle the classes and it would make things easier on our end. We plan to have the tennis lessons again with no problem. I'm trying to connect with our archery instructor from the past, but I've had trouble getting a hold of that individual as well. They did have some health concerns a couple years ago, so I'm not sure if that's playing a role in it right now. But I have talked to another Grosse Pointe director, and they have another instructor they're going to send me for some information for. So I'm trying to bring in as many other programs and outdoor programs as I can this summer, because I know there's a lot of residents that are looking for just about anything and everything they can get their kids into for this summer and do it in a safe manner. So that's kind of the plan. We've got another one that we're looking at is, I want to say it's books, boxing, and nutrition, I believe. It's a gentleman that we just met with who's looking to start up a program around here as well. And we're looking for a minimum of 10 kids. We're still working out the details on that. And we'll also have our summer karate camp. So we've got a lot of possibilities that we're working on. We just got to make sure that with having, that many programs going on, that we have spaces, indoor spaces for them to go to safely. If weather doesn't cooperate, that's one of the biggest concerns. So we want to offer a lot. We just don't want to offer too much that will put us in a tough spot if we don't have enough indoor space for them.
Question, would the theater camp be outdoor, weather permitting?
For a good percentage of it. They're looking to have 3 to 4 groups. So 2 to 3 of them will be outdoors rotating. And then their last station would be in one part of the gym. So again, they'll be able to space out enough and have that area. But yeah, they'll move to different stations throughout the day. They will do all their temperature checks and check-ins and things right there near the outside gatehouse. So they'll pull into the overflow parking lot, check their participants there. If they don't pass or something like that, they'll obviously be able to get right back in their vehicle and leave. So it's not like they're all going to get together in the park, meet, and then decide if they're okay or not. So we've decided that's a good way to get them in safely.
Yeah.
How many kids? Oh, sorry. Hi, about how many kids will that program involve?
I believe during the session, each session, I think there's going to be 2 sessions. I want to say they're in the ballpark of 30 to 40 kids per session.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Roy.
Yeah, I have my hand up. Can you see it? The symbol?
Yes,
Yes,
I see it.
Oh, okay. In regards to the archery, are you dealing or talking to the Hubners?
No.
And Peter?
No, I'm not.
I'll send you some contact information then, okay?
Please.
Their daughter went to Yale on a scholarship on archery, and she's quite accomplished, so.
Oh, that would be great.
We'll see.
Thank you.
I'll take my hand down now.
And then the last item for Windmill Point Park is a concession stand. Mary Lou Muir, who ran the concession stand, I believe, for the last 9 years up until last summer, has decided to officially retire from Park Cafe, and she will be missed dearly. But we are looking to now have a new contractor come in there, and it will be Mike Swanson, who's the owner of Fairfax Quality Market. We're just working out the contract agreement, and we think that's going to be a nice fit, mostly for the fact that he's already known in the area, and with his market being so close, if there's anything they need, the travel time and deliveries and things will be quite helpful. And it's another way for him to get his name out. for the rest of the community that may not go to that market as often or even know it's there. So it was kind of a no-brainer, and it helps promote a local business. So I'm looking forward to that and the new things that he's going to bring to the concession stand this year.
Before we leave Windmill Point, I have a question. And that is has there been any thought to taking down the temporary construction fence now that the water has receded as much as it has? It's not, it's kind of unsightly.
It is. I asked for a darker colored fence so it wouldn't stand out quite as much, but they ordered the wrong type. But I didn't have to have my staff put it in either, so I was thankful for that. We have discussed it. I've talked with Pat Thomas and Tom Jenny from Public Works. They're a little bit hesitant to pull it out quite yet, just depending on if it could go up. I think we're probably okay. We'll be in the clear. I think I'll probably revisit that discussion again. I think, Chris, you were probably somewhat in agreement at the time that we talked about it, that maybe to hold off. We thought about even moving it maybe 10 feet away from the seawall, so it was closer because it was out quite a ways. But we didn't want to go through all that time and effort either to move it there, then to not even need it or to have to bring it back again. I think we might go just a little bit longer and then probably look to remove that. I know there was some erosion along the seawall, so we're definitely going to have to fill that in, and probably something we might want to get done before we remove that fencing.
Chad, do you have any update on what the projections are for water levels, and are they projected to stay lower this year than they were last year?
Chris probably has a better answer on that. I wanted to say it was somewhere around 7 to 8 inches, but I could be wrong on that. Chris, have you seen the latest?
Not the latest, but well, what Chad said, just to reaffirm it, is I saw 7 to 8 inches below last year as far as June, July. So that's good news for us. And if it keeps that low, then shouldn't have any issues in the marina now that we have the risers and everything.
Great, thank you.
But yeah, I will have that discussion. I don't know if the commission feels comfortable with that, but I could probably have that meeting with Public Works within the next week or two. And if, as a group, I think we feel comfortable eliminating that fence, I'll get the erosion issue taken care of first, and then we'll look to take that out, because it does take a good chunk of the main picnic area up. I'm not so concerned about behind the volleyball courts in that area, but it does kind of come in quite a bit on that main picnic area.
Yes.
We'll move on to the Lavins Activity Center. We've got the karate and Rock City summer programs. I briefly touched on that, but we will do the karate this summer. And another great thing about that is we'll be able to do it outside, and we have the gymnasium as a backup. So I think that will do well this summer, especially everything that's been going on. I think we'll be just fine. The karate program has been strong over the years anyway, so we've been doing it for 30 years, so we're doing something right. And then the Rock Steady, we're just going to continue to go with that. I have a feeling that's all going to stay indoors just because of the type of equipment that they use, but I don't see any issue why we're going to stop that going through the summer. So again, another way for some income for that gymnasium that hasn't been getting the normal rental time and activity in it. The LED lighting conversion, we've been switching over to LED lighting throughout areas in the Lavins Activity Center. It's been great. If you have a chance to check out the restrooms or the main hallways or things like that, you'll see just how much that lighting has changed and the amount of money that's going to save us, over time with making that conversion to those type of lights. So Eric Crutchcam, one of our maintenance workers inside of the Lavins Activity Center, pretty much took that project on himself. It was probably the main, if not the only reason we were able to do that project compared to what that would cost us with hiring contractors. So a big shout out to him and a huge thank you, because that's been a big project for him to take on along with his other duties in order for us to get that done. So very thankful that we have him on staff. And then we're also hopeful for the capacity in the fitness center to increase. We're looking like we're getting closer If things go the way that they're supposed to getting 50% capacity in the fitness center. So we're hopeful that that will help and bring back more memberships. Stay positive and hope that works out for us. We'll move into the marina. Chris, to get you a little more involved again.
Yeah, so the one thing I was going to talk about was the engineering analysis results. Unfortunately, they had another engineer come out this week on Monday and asked if we could push it back to next week as far as the results. I figured that would be fine. So unfortunately, I don't have much to say as far as results, but looks like we're very close to getting the document that we wanted from HRC. So I wanted to update this, and I will be updating the Marina Subcommittee with that. Our next meeting being on Wednesday, June 2nd. Which leads me to the second thing was the navigational lights. During one of our Marina Subcommittee meetings, our last one, it was asked if we could change the lights at our entrance for the navigational lights to red and green. So it's a little bit easier to see where the seawall is. And we have already changed the lights to make it easier for boaters. I'm not sure if Larry's seen it yet, if he's been to the marina, but we've changed it to the LED bulbs of red and green.
Fantastic. Glad to hear it. I was going to bring that up, Chris. Thank you.
Not a problem. Which kind of brings me to the last point for the marina is Pier 1. And I just wanted to say that as far as Pier 1 is concerned, I still have some openings. They are very skinny, smaller wells. So I wanted to bring it up here. So if you know anyone from Grosse Pointe Park who has a 8-foot wide or 8-foot beam or less, we have some openings right now that I'd be more happy to offer to anyone looking for a small boat. They would be able to get a well on Pier 1 and they wouldn't have to be on the wait list for that size. So I wanted to bring it up here as far as a little update as filling up wells.
Chris, do we offer those for jet skis or personal watercraft if we don't have enough boats?
Currently we don't. And one of the big reasons that we don't do that right now is because we don't have lifts, which makes it a little bit more dangerous because obviously you have electrical current going through water. And when you're jumping in on a jet ski and a other dinghy, let's say, it's a little bit unsafe. And also we have a lot stronger current there. So if you are talking about a dinghy, not a jet ski, makes it a little bit more unsafe with dinghies as well. So right now we just allow small boats, even if they're fishing boats, we allow in, but not jet ski or dinghies currently. If we go forward and we were to put in lifts, then yes, we would be able to offer jet ski and dinghies for those.
Thanks.
And the Marina Subcommittee has actually discussed that at some length for a future improvement to the harbor.
Yeah, depending on what happens with the engineering analysis result, I think that's going to kind of determine the future of the marina. Obviously, right now we're trying to build enough revenue so that in case we have something in the future that we need to do, or let's say it's electrical on 4, we have enough revenue so we can take care of that. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe in a couple of years we might have to dredge the marina. We need to have enough funds there for that as well. So we're trying to build on the liquid assets as far as the revenue right now. And again, that might be a future project for the marina going forward.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to Patterson Park. Dog park construction has begun. We were able to get the 2 cement slabs poured. The one section is for the 6x12 entrance area with the neutral zone. And then the second slab runs perpendicular to the entrance, and that is a 10x20 slab. So we thought that would be a solid size for anybody with a disability to be able to be in that area, and to also make that as kind of a main area for leashing and unleashing your dog when it comes back to you to get ready to leave, or once you get right into that park. And if that area was just grass or something like that, it would have so much traffic right there that I'm afraid what it would do to the ground. So this was kind of a win-win by putting that section in there. I also didn't want to just have a regular piece of cement section there. So I was able to talk to the contractor and see if they could get some paw print type stamps. So we had the concrete stamped with little paw prints that show the dogs walking in on each side of the entrance slab there. Then we outlined the 10 by 20 with the paw prints as well, just to give it a little more character. Our biggest roadblock right now with the construction process is the fencing material. Trying to get that in, the delay on it. Most of you probably know with just about anything right now, either the cost has gone up so high, or they're just behind, or the demand's so high that they haven't been able to get their hands on a lot of things. So fencing is our biggest problem right now, and we're trying to figure out exactly when that's going to get in for that process to happen, which is kind of holding up some of the other items right now. We anticipate July 1 completion date, so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to stay on that schedule. It was a little bit later than I had hoped for, but I think that's just probably more realistic to look for. We've also got the reflecting pond converted over, so that's back to its normal ways with the fountains going. It actually looks really nice right now, and Sean and Dave, the maintenance supervisors, this was their first go around of converting that over to an ice rink, from a pond to an ice rink back to a pond. They did a great job getting it ready for us. So if you get a chance to stop down there and take a look, I think you'll enjoy seeing it again. The last item for Patterson Park is the disc golf course. I've had a few residents that have been talking with me fairly regularly about the interest in this course happening at Patterson Park. I would just kind of like to see with you guys as a commission, if this is something you would be interested in me pursuing a bit more with them, and working out the details. I had shown you before, a potential map for the course, and some other items, some costs. We're still working out some cost things like that. My goal would probably be, if this is something that we do consider putting in there, probably through a donation or something like that, very minimal cost on the city. I think the interest would be there with residents to handle that kind of cost for this. It's not an incredibly expensive project, so that's a plus as well. But I just wanted to see the commission's interest level in me, moving forward with something like that, or potentially saving it for the master plan, the Parks and Recreation master plan, if that's something you see as a better fit.
I have a question regarding that. The earlier mention of a safety hazard I had not heard of before. Has the safety issue been discussed or investigated prior to this time at all?
It hasn't been discussed in too much depth. I haven't really heard of too many things like that. I gotta imagine with just about anything, there's always a possibility of injury or things like that. I'm not going to downplay by any means. To say that there's not disc golf courses in normal parks, I would say that there's probably quite a few. And I don't know if there's some other members in here that could agree with that or not. I don't think just because it's in our park that it's going to be a terrible thing, and it's not just a dedicated disc golf course. But I'm glad to research that and look into it a bit more. Again, I think the way they're planning or looking to set that course up is to keep it out of a lot of the main areas. You're not going to see it go through the picnic area. It could even be moved to not be that close to any of the playscape area, things like that. A handful of the holes, I believe, are right out along the Essex part of the park, which is not a heavy traffic area for kids playing or things like that. And a lot of the areas are wide open. You're not going around a lot of bends or turns or things like that where you're not going to see people in front of you or around you. And most of them are pretty respectful and conscientious. I can't say that about everyone, But typically someone who's playing a sport, things like that, just like golf, you're usually pretty, courteous of everyone else around you. So we're gonna have to do some more work on it for sure. It's not something that's gonna happen in the next month or two, but I just want to see the interest level, and maybe Lori and Roy have some comments to make as well, or anyone else for that matter, and just see, how much you want me to put into this right now. Roy?
You're muted.
I think you might be muted, Roy.
There. I would be very worried about the safety aspect. I have been hit in the head by similar objects that were literally knocked me down and knocked me out and cut my eye open here, just above my eye. And I think it would be a safety hazard. It's a course. It's not a simple contained area. I'm not saying that it maybe couldn't be arranged, but until we see more diagrams or specs on it, I'd be very concerned about safety and if it's an appropriate activity, because it is spread out over quite an area. It's not contained. And to me, it's almost like having a little mini course or 9-hole course or something there. You are throwing objects at a long distance, and they are 8 ounces. And that's a dangerous flying object. So I'd be very concerned about it. Thank you.
Lori?
Yeah, just a couple of comments along those lines. One, I do, look to you, Chad, in terms of your expertise, in terms of whether it's suitable for our park, for Patterson Park, whether it's a desirable amenity in terms of parks and recreation offerings. Is this something that's relevant today? Is it a growing sport? I'd like a little more analysis on that, as well as the community's desire to have it. I have heard from a few members of the community who are interested in it. I'd like for us to put it out there in a way that the community can weigh in. And then in terms of when you say it's not expensive, I'd like that defined. What is not expensive? How much would it cost to develop a course? And how much could we raise from those? It sounds like some of the residents interested in having it are also interested in donating toward it. What are those funds, and what would the city's investment be? So I'm not ready to say do it. I'm interested in hearing more about it.
Absolutely. That's what I wanted to see. I wouldn't put anything forth until we know an exact number on what that's going to cost and what upkeep and maintenance on the course would cost, items like that. So until we really have what we would feel as confident as a course map, the cost of that project, the upkeep, things like that, I just want to know if the commission has interest in me spending some time and effort on finding that information out, maybe some kind of a survey, see the general public's interest in it, stuff like that. Go ahead.
I don't mind a survey, Chad. I think that's a great idea to gauge interest. I do have a couple of concerns, both in terms of whether it would interfere with the exercise circuit that's there, whether it would interfere with the community cross-country races that take place in the spring with the schools. And then I had raised a question whenever we discussed this last. When I think of Frisbee golf or disc golf, I think of galvanized chains hanging from a circle, which is not a particularly appealing view, especially if we are putting in a full course worth. So one of the questions that I don't know if you've had a chance to look into it is, are there different types of targets or appearance changes that would allow us not to have a couple 100 feet of galvanized chain hanging from circles?
Sure. I've had a little bit of time to look into it. I've been caught up with a few other projects right now, the pool being one of those, lifeguards, things like that, some other summer programs. So I've put it a little bit on the back burner. I believe we could probably get some that would be powder coated to a different color, but more than likely exactly what you just kind of described is what you're going to get. That's basically what that basket is. with the chains in order to stop the disc so it falls in the basket. I think maybe Mike and then Lori. Mike, did you ever hand up for anything regarding that?
Yeah, I just wondered, I don't remember if you said this when you introduced the idea. Is this an all or none for the advocates to have a full 9-hole course? And would an option to be considered to put in, say, 3 holes, which would be pretty easy to put out of the way of most traffic? 9 holes will be a much more challenging. So I wonder if there was any in between, or it's pretty much all or none to have a 9-hole course.
That's a good question, actually. Let me reach out to those residents that I've been talking with and see if that's something that's a possibility. Maybe even the fact of, like you said, putting in a few that would potentially build that course together. And if something like that worked well, I do know that that's something I briefly talked about with the former city manager, of just maybe 2 or 3 locations throughout the park. Because on that sledding hill or the lift station hill that runs that long distance of the park, I actually thought that would be a great spot for just a practice hole for those who like to play, to come down, and you can use every type of disc that you have, because it's such a long distance that at least you could come down something you enjoyed. And again, it's not interfering with a lot of other park activity, but it reaches out to some different age ranges and interest levels. So I definitely am happy to have that conversation with them to see if it's something that we could just put a couple, 2 or 3 holes out there as a trial runner just for practicing, until they go to other courses to play. I think Lori.
Just to add on the safety concerns, just like we're doing with the dog park and most of our other programming, I assume we can, or we should consider having hours of operation, closing the course for cross-country meets or other planned activities at the park. We would have the ability to do that to address any safety concerns or when the park's particularly crowded. I mean, I think those are the types of, and that's the type of analysis I'd like to see come
Yeah.
back to us.
Absolutely. And that would be the great thing about having, the outside gate staff or the entrance gate staff on. They can find out if you're playing, oh, I'm sorry, we've got a cross country meet tonight. No disc golf course tonight, but be sure to come back tomorrow. We don't have another meet until next Thursday or next Tuesday. And also having park rangers on, through the summer, things like that, they could keep an eye on it. The peak months, we also have maintenance on until 9 p.m. So there would be eyes and staff out there to be able to watch things like that to keep it from happening. I'm quite sure that the cross country teams could even provide some people at a couple of those holes to make sure that nobody sneaks in that way to play and stuff. And they probably wouldn't have a problem designating some volunteers and stuff in those areas.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move into gardening. Spring cleaning. Right now it is Corinne Vance, our garden staff supervisor, and her assistant Javiera, and they've been doing an amazing job right now for only being the 2 of them and getting everything kind of back into shape and cleaned up and trimmed up and ready to go, for this summer. Again, that's another department where we're having trouble getting interested applicants in for. So if you know anyone or any high schoolers or any college students coming back that don't mind getting their hands a little bit dirty, but getting to be outside all summer, that's the place to go. So she's staying busy with it. She's doing a great job. There's a lot of places you don't really think about it until you go around all, Mac, Charlevoix, Kercheval, both parks, the islands, on Middlesex and Windmill. There's just a lot of area. The boardwalk itself is almost a 1-person job to really stay up with it. So again, I can't think of enough to have them both on, or we'd be in some trouble right now. And with that being said, just after Memorial Weekend, we'll be getting in all the flower pots as well. So the installation of those will take place, and you'll see those on all the city light poles as well. So she's definitely busy. If you know anyone, bring them our way because we got some jobs for them. So as for old business, I don't have any old business. New business, I do have after 6 Kercheval. Or did I go too fast in old business, or are we okay? Go ahead. Lori,
I should have brought this up during Patterson Park, but could you update us on the kayak racks for this season and whether we have any new racks and where we are with the wait list?
we are at about, I think, 125 on the wait list. Since all of this is hit, we got our wait list down to a pretty good number that we felt confident with, that after, a couple of seasons and the number of turnover we usually have, we'd probably get those people on fairly quickly. When the pandemic hit, it seems like everybody and their brother wants a kayak now and a kayak rack down at Patterson. So I did put in a request for one of our capital improvement projects, was to build an additional dozen racks. I believe hopefully we'll find out in a week or two or so, depending on what gets approved. I'm hopeful that that is one that gets approved. It also is a nice revenue stream for the Parks and Recreation Department. So that would take another 48 people off the wait list, which would be nice to have that. And I think we have plenty of room to add those 12 racks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. For the new business, After 6 on Kercheval and the Charlevoix street parties, we are planning those, probably scaling them back a little bit. But if things are good to go, it sounds like the outdoor events are going to open up a bit more. I just heard something about 1,000 people or so for outdoor events. I've got to double check on that to make sure. But that would make operations a lot easier if we were able to have something like that. The tough part is still booking bands and activities and things like that, and being able to, know you can pay for it or you're going to have it and not cancel them. Most of them are kind of used to that at this point in time, if it happens or not, but they're still booking. I feel fairly confident that we'll be okay. One of those things where we're going to encourage, obviously, masks to be worn when they need to, and following the recommended guidelines, things like that. If, whatever kind of promotions and marketing things like that we do, all that stuff will be included. So I feel good. I think we need something like that. We just have to be smart on how we put those events on. And as for the event goers as well, do your best to adhere to those rules. But I think everyone is ready for them to come back. And it was definitely a rough year not having any of those. So we're going to plan for it. Hopefully things get better as we get closer to June and July. And I think we'll be good to go. I think the next item will be public comment, Chris, non-agenda items.
Moving on to public comment.
I'm going to go ahead
I
and
see 2 hands up.
Anna, if you wouldn't mind stating your full name for the record, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Anna Signorino. I had the privilege and the pleasure of living in California. It's a great state. They have amazing amenities. They have dog parks. They have disc golf courses. And they also have an amazing thing. They have race tracks. I actually drove on the Sonoma racetrack with a sports car, a race car. It was amazing, thrilling in so many ways. So I would like to donate to Patterson Park a lane for racing, so that other folks in Grosse Pointe Park who like to race cars can have a place to go. Probably won't cost that much money. I'm sure Chad can do an analysis to see what kind of interest there is for a racetrack there in Patterson Park. We'll get the analysis done for how much it's going to cost, and I'll be sure to donate the money for that. And we can figure out the times of when it's available, right? We're not going to go during the busy times. We're not going to go when the kids are cross-country racing, but there's a lot of area there at the park where we can have a racetrack. And if that sounds absurd, I think so too, but we're already using more than a half acre of our park for people to store their kayaks. We've got more than a half acre dedicated to people who own a dog, which is causing risk of harm for children. Now you want to have disc golf. What happened to the open space? What happened to the trees? Why can't we have a park where people can bring a Frisbee and throw a Frisbee back and forth, or throw a Frisbee into a hula hoop? That's as thrilling as what disc golf is. And you made a great comment that the baskets are ugly and they can get rusted. And then you got this big flag up there that says which hole you're at. And It is dangerous. We should not have disc golf. You shouldn't have 3 holes. You shouldn't have 9 holes. You shouldn't have any holes for disc golf. Nobody wants to have a half a pound of a disc thrown in the wrong direction. Just like we don't want dogs barking, fornicating, and biting children. Nobody wants to go to the park and see all these racks of kayaks. People can bring their stuff, bring their picnic baskets, bring their Frisbees. And then at the end of the day, pack your stuff up and go home. We don't need to store that. We don't need to store swimming suits and golf clubs and whatever else people don't want to bring there to just leave there, and everybody else can't use that space. You want to bring money into the Parks and Rec because of what? Somebody's got a kayak rental? I mean, what is that really bringing in? Why don't you just have me donate the money, get rid of the damn kayaks, and then we can have an open space for people to throw a Frisbee or to throw a baseball or whatever it is that people want to throw. You people just infuriate me. I don't think that you actually really think about what you're putting into these parks, what you're taking away from the parks, and the dangers that you are bringing to.
Carolyn, if you wouldn't mind
Thank
stating
you.
your full name for the record, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Carolyn Abdenor Bogues. I just wanted to say thank you for all the hard work in getting the pool ready for the summer. I took my young son to Windmill Point and the pool looks amazing. And he was so happy to see the fountain going. I'm just very excited to be able to take him. Chad knows I'm one of those lap swimmers, and I just wanted to ask that in the planning that, you know, the laps spaces are considered and made available. I understand that, you know, unfortunately, maybe the morning laps aren't going to work, but let's just make sure that we have some lap space for the evenings, because although the lap swimmers are a small group, we are a mighty group that we are just very much looking forward to lap swimming. I also just wanted to say thank you because the plants around the neighborhood look great, and Javiera is just the nicest person. So thank you for all the hard work on that. With the gym and the fitness facility, I'm just wondering if somebody can give an update on group classes like Zumba or Pilates or yoga, to see if some of those can be outside or if they're going to restart, and just a general game plan of when. And I also just wanted to say thank you for the expansion of looking into more kayak racks. I personally am one of those on the list, and we're looking forward to having the opportunity to utilize Patterson Park more. And we're looking forward to the dog space and just everything that the commission has been doing for us to enjoy the parks that we are happy to pay for and we are excited to use. So we're looking forward to a great summer. So just thank you so much. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you much for your comments.
Please feel free to send a follow-up email to me as well regarding some of the fitness classes and things like that. I can hint on that or touch on that a little bit with the commission after we're done with the rest of the public comment, just to give them an idea about the fitness classes.
Max, if you wouldn't mind stating your full name for the record, and then you have 3 minutes.
There's one more hand raised.
Yeah, hi, Max Wiener, Lake Court. I just wanted to follow up and say thank you very much. My kids are so excited that swim classes are happening again. It's always kind of how we started our year. So we've really been anxious to find out. I know I've bugged you on emails a little bit, but thank you guys for the work you're doing. It really is a big part of why we like living here. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes all hands raised.
Thank you very much for your comments.
And just to touch base on some of the activities, the fitness classes, things like that are typically taking place inside the gymnasium. I've talked with Mary Beth a bit about offering some outdoor classes. The one thing we would probably have to do is something like that is probably charge a separate fee. It typically comes with their membership, so it kind of depends. It's a tricky situation to have it outside if it's technically not with a member. So we would have to get creative with something along the lines of either a drop-in fee or something like that with individuals trying to take that class outside. There has been a few, I think, instructors that aren't quite ready to come back or try something outside even yet. But I had even talked about just coming up with some boot camp type things with Mary Beth to do those outdoors as well. So we are working on a couple of different options. We'll see what we can do to get like something like that going again.
Thank you, Chad. The last item on the agenda is adjournment with the next meeting Wednesday, September 1st. Do I have a motion to?
So moved.
Do I hear a
Second.
second? Aye. Aye. I don't think we need
Aye.
a roll call vote for adjournment.
Excellent.
Thank you very
Thank-
much.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Okay, thank you. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Have a great night.